Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here. It's another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Happy Wednesday. And if this serves no other purpose, at least you'll know when Wednesday gets here. I know so many people are saying, what day is the week is it? Is it weekend? I don't know. Monday, Thursday, it's just another day. Well, it's Wednesday. And let me say hello to a few people here. Hey, Charity James, how you doing? Amadi, how you doing? Alex Wood, always there, always there. And I have a special guest, and I think I'm just going to go right to her. Oh, hello, Venus. How are you? Bruce Sherm. Bruce, high school buddy. But I'm going to bring you on right now, and there she is, Mara DeRusso Juneau.
What's up, you guys?
Yeah, well, you're looking fabulous. You got your makeup just right. The hair's fitting just wonderfully.
Thank you very much.
And Mara is one of the workingest women in voiceover.
I'm trying.
and so versatile, so good. And we've known each other for,
It's like been 9, 10 years now.
9, 10 years.
It's crazy.
And we actually met through Facebook.
Yep.
And
Yep.
do you remember the story?
I don't remember how we officially met. I was trying to comb through messages to find out, but I know it's been at least since like 2011. But I do remember calling in to an interview that you were doing a million years ago, and asking you about my voice.
Yeah, your question was, well, I'm a black woman, and I don't know if I sound ethnic enough or too ethnic, and do you mind if I send you my demos and take a listen? And I took a listen. I went, you sound great. You know, we're in a little different world than we used to be in. You don't have to sound all stereotypically ethnic, cliche.
Yeah.
And I just thought you were really good. You had some great clients already at that time. You guys were living in New Orleans then.
Greater New Orleans, yeah, a little town called Houma, Louisiana.
Houma, Louisiana. Okay.
Yep.
And
no agents, no nothing.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was a few months or a year or so later. I had been doing the Walking Dead game, and they were looking for a black female to play a character. And I went, oh, I know just the person. Here's her information. Get in touch. And were you still living in you were still living in out just outside New Orleans?
I was still in the swamps at the time. Yeah, I was still in Houma, and you have no idea what an honor it was to hear from the Dave Fennoy. Okay, seeing Dave Fennoy and Walking Dead in the same sentence. I'm just like, oh.
But you did the audition, and you got the part, and they flew you in to Northern California.
Yeah.
And you were there for a few days, or just one day, or?
Yeah, no, they would fly me in for multiple sessions. I flew in probably about 3 or 4 times, and it was great. I mean, I'd talk about star treatment.
You stayed at that little hotel, the one hotel in Fairfax, California?
Yes, in Fairfax.
Oh, man, I remember that. Doing the part, it took about a year. So every couple of months, I was flying up and staying in that same little hotel.
Yep. It was the cutest little place.
Oh, well, Fairfax is great. It's about 5 blocks long.
Yeah, right.
And they must have had 5 or 6 bars that played music.
Right.
It was
a
little
like
heavens.
Artist town.
So where all the hippies went to live years ago. And
Totally.
but you know, you have had a successful career. You live now here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Your better half is one of my favorite tech guys.
Yes.
As a matter of fact,
amazing.
We're going to have him on next week.
Yes.
So
excited for that.
If now, and you call yourself the
voiceover shapeshifter.
And now, why do you call yourself that?
Because, I mean, I really just I just feel like it's super easy for me to kind of transform into a million different characters, and I always love the idea of shape shifting, as it were. And so I didn't see anybody else kind of using that term, and I'm
That,
like, I'm stealing that. I
yeah.
was debating between being the voiceover shapeshifter, or at the time, since I started in Louisiana, it was going to be like my branding was going to be something like voiceover gumbo. Kind of lame. Yeah. So I had bigger aspirations
Yeah.
than the swamp.
Well, listen, we're already getting some questions, and here's a question I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
from Alex Wood. Hey, Mara, what microphone are you using?
This is a pretty awesome microphone. This is the Townsend. Let's see, I might even be able to. I'll share a link with you guys here in Facebook. It's the Townsend Sphere L22 microphone, and it is phenomenal. If you guys can get to a point where you can get this, I think it's under, I think it's like 1200. I'm not exactly
Hmm.
100% sure, but it is like a mic modeler, and it is extremely accurate. It models the Sennheiser 416. It models the U87, not the U87 AI, the more modern one, but it has two of the vintage models. It's got doesn't have the TLM 103 just yet, but pretty much any amazing vintage mic you can think of, and we're talking like worth five figures. It's right in this mic, and it's unbelievable. And then you
So
can
now
tweak it to your heart's content.
the modeling is in a plugin, yes?
Yes, I actually use the Universal Apollo
Twin.
preamp,
Yeah,
and
that's what
it's
I've
got a
got.
million plugins. You can put your Avalon
Yeah,
737
I've got
right
my
there.
Avalon 737 in it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so
Fantastic.
amazing.
You know, we've been talking about equipment a lot,
Yeah,
especially since we're all on quarantine and it looks like it's going to last a little longer.
yeah,
And what I've been saying to people is your best bet, if you can afford a name brand, well known microphone,
yes,
do it.
absolutely.
This might be another choice. I won't say it might be. It is definitely another choice because of the modeling and
Yeah,
at the price point.
yeah.
I'm
You
assuming
can't beat it.
it's a very decent mic. And damn you, you're gonna make me buy another mic.
I'm telling you, you
I
won't regret it.
I have a
It's so
collection.
customizable, it's
Oh
unreal.
man, I have a collection, and most of the time it's my 416 or my 103.
Yeah,
But I might hang that and let's see what happens with that for a while.
I think you'll be in love.
All right. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in voiceover. What was your journey like?
I mean, I always wanted to be an actress for as long as I can remember. I mean, I remember being a kid and, dreaming about being an actress or a psychiatrist because I just love the human condition. I love people. I love, what makes people tick. And as I started to get a little older, it just didn't seem all that realistic, obviously, to be an actor. And then now in this day and age, now that I say everybody's got can be paparazzi in their pocket with their cell phones, the idea of like having no privacy, I just really wasn't into that. So I didn't think acting was really going to be a viable option for me. But I spent about 7.5, 8 years in radio. And at the time, I thought that was just the best job in the entire world because I got to talk for a living, play music, and make friends. And they gave me a paycheck. Wasn't the best paycheck in the world, but all I needed was to be happy at work. So I was doing that for, like I said, almost 8 years. And at the time, I was doing 3 out of the 4 radio stations in the little conglomerate that we had in town. And I kind of had grown as far as I could grow. I really, there was some issues with management, and it was just kind of time to move on. And I really had no idea what I was going to do. I had no backup, no savings, no game plan. But things kind of got pushed to the limit at the radio station, so it was time to move on. And so after that, I started looking online, freaking out. I was like, should I go back to school for broadcasting? Because radio seems to be the only job that I've ever liked. And then I kind of stumbled upon voice acting. And I'm like, oh, yeah, wait, acting. I can be an actress and then I don't have to be restricted by, my age, my race, my whatever. I can kind of do whatever I want from anywhere, with the microphone, and then obviously the right training. And so I just started just going. I'm a bit obsessive. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So from the day I realized that was an option, I just kind of went balls to the wall and was just spending anywhere from 12 to usually 14 to 16 hours a day just doing something voiceover related. If I wasn't, you know, watching a webinar, I was on the forums and asking questions or doing research, or I was looking at all of the top agencies in LA and New York and Chicago and then listening to what their roster sounded like.
One of the things you just mentioned there, being online, going to this site and this site and this site, taking in as much as you could for free.
Yeah.
I always recommend to people that want to get in this business that they do that. Rather than spend money right away. Because you learn the jargon, you get to see some things about the microphones and so forth and so on. Speaking of which, so that's your story is very good. I think we have a question here from Venus. Mara, what headphones are you wearing?
These are Neumann headphones. Actually, they've just recently gotten into the headphone business. These are the Neumann NDH20 closed back headphones. They're not cheap. They're about $500, but
well, when you are a successful voiceover actor, money is no object.
Yeah, it's a shiny new thing, another new plaything, But oh God, they are so comfortable, like just these pads.
Well, let me. She's got another question here. I'm working on my studio. Are there windows behind the phone behind you and to your right? If so, where can I get the foam or phone?
Oh, probably foam. There's no windows behind me. Obviously, that's all foam. And my sides and my door are all foam. But in front of me, I've got a nice big window, which you got to be careful with windows in the front or even on the side. I'm a big fan. I have to have light. I go nuts sitting here all day without some sort of sunlight. But if you can stand to not have too much of a window, it'll be a lot easier later down the line when it comes to reflections in the booth and soundproofing and just bass trapping in general. But I had to have a window just because I get seasonal affective disorder and I go batty.
I've got a question. I just knew somebody was going to ask it, and maybe they were about to, but haven't. What has your journey been like as a black female in the voiceover business?
Well, that's a big question. It's really been evolving. And you were, as we kind of mentioned before, you're really instrumental in that. When I first got into this business, I was really scared. Because as a radio DJ, I was working as a country music radio DJ, and most people thought, it was a country station doing middays, and I didn't put on an accent or anything, but most people who heard me thought I was blonde hair, blue eye talent. And then I did a morning show. I would do a morning show that was like a classic rock / alternative rock, and then I was a lot more me. And people kind of would follow me from station to station, and they would hear my personality kind of change or whatever. And I didn't worry about it too terribly much, but even that was kind of weird identity-wise, trying to figure out kind of
So you were code switching even then?
That's what we do, man. You know how it is.
Yes, I do.
It's kind of in our blood. So, yeah, I was code switching a lot. And when I got into this business, there wasn't, nor are there still, a ton of people on the air who sounded like me. So I would listen to commercials and I'm like, oh, so I have to put on the pretty voice and I have to sound like the friendly mom. And I could do that, but it wasn't who I really was. I mean, it was a shade of me. We all have different shades of who we are, depending on if we're with our spouse, our parents, our kids, our boss, whatever. But I really didn't feel like authentically me, and I was really scared to show authentically me because, I mean, as you can hear, I have a deeper voice. When I'm really relaxed, it can be really deep. And I always thought it was kind of like asexual, kind of gender non-binary. And, then being black and multiracial, I didn't know if there was a space for me without putting on some sort of persona or code switching. And it took a really long time. And like I said, you were hugely instrumental. When I talked to you, I think you answered the question during one of your interviews. I called in live as a guest, and I asked you, I was just like, Dave, do I sound black enough for this business? Do you think I could do this, or whatever? And you said something like, girl, you got the goods. You just don't know it yet.
Oh,
And I was
did I
like,
say it?
what?
Girl, you got the
Fennoy?
goods. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I mean, changed everything. Changed everything. It gave me such confidence because I saw how successful you were, and the fact that you even remotely believed in me or even knew who I was and was cheering me on, like it changed so much, and it gave me so much more confidence to start just being myself and just relaxing more into the reads and just saying, screw it, let's see what happens if I just kind of sound the way I sound around the house. And amazingly enough, it's kind of like they always say, the second you start sounding like you,
Yeah.
people want you. It's this There's this inner confidence that you just don't get being anybody else but you,
Yeah,
because
absolutely, absolutely.
it's your unique. Yeah.
Despite the fact that we do a lot of different voices,
Right, exactly.
and one of the things I try to beat into my students is, yeah, if you do a lot of voices, that's wonderful, but if the only thing you've got is an authentic you, that's
Yeah.
enough. I'm reminded
Yes.
of my late great friend Don LaFontaine. Don never did anything but Don, but he was the workingest voice actor in the world.
Right.
In $30,000-$40,000 a day. I would speak at schools and say, well, he's making $30,000-$40,000 a day. It'd take me a month or two to make that kind of money.
Right. A couple of months, maybe.
Listen, a couple of things. Let's see. Wendy Zier says, hi, Mara.
Hey, Wendy, long time. How have you been?
Yeah, and Michael Scott, thank you both for representing us. You are welcome,
Aw.
Michael. We have a g'day from Australia. Very interesting. Thanks, Dave and Mara. Oh, yes, nobody better. Oh, thank you, thank you. Crystal Lee Brown, having the hardest time selecting my equipment. So many choices. Well,
Yeah.
Crystal, I'm going to get back to you. Crystal is a friend of mine. And a very successful actress. Now, Crystal, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to tell some things on you. Um, I do a thing called Backyard Jazz. I do Christmas parties every year. Well, don't think it'll be this year.
Aw.
And I was looking for someone to be a server, so my wife wouldn't have to work too hard. And Crystal was the person I ended up hiring, and she uh, kept the crew going at our Christmas parties for several years. And she told me she was an actress. And just in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been seeing her doing some great roles in some great movies. I think I saw something, you got a Netflix show or something about to come up.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's just to let you know, you do what you got to do while you're on your way. But as long as you keep moving forward, you will get there.
Absolutely.
Oh, let's see. Okay, got a question here. Kelly Keys, what DAW do you like to record on?
For me, day to day, it's usually Twisted Weight. Well, I'm on a Mac, but I just now that we've been doing a lot of these gaming sessions from home, I've been doing a lot of multi-track recording, so I've been relying on the old Adobe Audition.
Okay.
But I'm trying to learn Pro Tools,
Yeah.
but
Well,
haven't had much luck.
I'm not an Adobe Audition guy. I've got Pro Tools. I'm trying to relearn Pro Tools because
Right.
Twisted Wave for voiceover is such an easy program to do.
So easy. So
Um,
easy.
I had an audition the other day that I had to sing, and
Oh,
they send you the background music, so I had to, oh gosh, Pro Tools. I used to use this.
right.
How do I do this again? And
Exactly.
I was able to get it, and it actually turned out okay.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't laugh. Well, actually, it was a funny song, so maybe they will laugh, and that'll be a good thing.
I
Uh,
didn't know you sang. I want to see some of this footage
well,
here.
I was a musician and singer songwriter for a long time. My career was humming and strumming.
Oh,
I was kind of like a songwriter and traveled around, me and my guitar.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time ago there.
Sonny boy.
Oh boy, let's see. Let's see. Crystal is giving me the information. The Good Lord Bird with Ethan Hawke. Wow.
Ooh.
On Showtime, airing August 9th Thank you for the love, Dave. You are so welcome, Crystal. And of course, she's too big now to come and serve my guests and take care of my parties. She has moved on. Thank goodness. Oh, let's see. Got a buddy of mine, Jay DeLay.
Jay DeLay.
Oh, you know Jay?
Oh, yeah, I know Jay. I love Jay.
Oh, Jay DeLay, producer of radio shows and a DJ, and a great guy. Just a great guy.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by, Jay. So, what kinds of work are you doing now? How many genres are you working in? What are you
God.
liking the best?
I do pretty much literally everything except audiobooks, and I don't really do many trailers. But other than that, I mean, I'm still the voice of AT&T. So I do telephony work. I do TV narration. I just last year became the first female narrator.
Back up. We'll get to the BET thing in a minute. The telephony work for AT&T.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, like how I got into it?
Yeah.
Or just wow. Let's see. That was a gazillion years ago. That was actually I auditioned for it. It was actually on a pay-to-play site because I didn't have an agent living in the swamp. And they were looking for basically they were trying to have consistency with a former voice actress who wasn't going to be working with them any longer. So they did kind of this sound-alike casting, and out of 500 auditions worldwide, I was able to sound the closest to their original voice. And that's when I have a very, very sharp ear. Both Jordan and I have, I have like near perfect pitch. I won't dare say perfect pitch, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So I'm really able to kind of pick out the little nuances and pacing and tone and things like that pretty easily. So voice matching and sound-alike stuff is pretty easy for me. So I was able to kind of match her tone, and I've been the voice of AT&T ever since. Now, I don't do their commercials, so don't think that you've heard me on a commercial, but I was the voice of Nationwide Directory Assistance, which I think is going to be finally going out of style and expiring next month. I don't even know why we redid it, because at the time everybody was on their cell phones anyway, but I'm the voice of Nationwide Directory Assistance, and pretty much any AT&T wireless store, if you call for information, you'll hear me sounding more like this. And my voice is perkier, and I say thank you for calling AT&T.
Oh, boy. Okay, I got another question here that I'm going to leave for you. Jonathan David Bullock. Hey, Dave and Mara. How often... Mara. How often... I have called you Mara for as long as I've known you. Mara.
Everybody does, though. Everybody does. I have the hardest two-syllable name in the world to remember.
It's you're spelling it wrong. It should be M-E-R-A instead of M-A, because
I'll have to look into that.
It's your fault for spelling it that way. How often do you rework your commercial character demo?
That's a good question. I actually need to rework my commercial demo. Like now, it's about 4 years old at this point, and it's about time. And character-wise, I've just been getting so many awesome characters in the past couple of years. I just did a really badass video game demo with the amazing Jordan Reynolds, who produced it and helped put it all together. And it's already kind of time to do another one. So, or at least tack on to it.
There's kind of a paradigm that when you're working a lot, you don't update your demos.
Right.
You should, but typically, you're working so that you don't. I went, I think, 8 years at one point without updating my commercial demo.
Wow.
Or I don't think I had updated any demos. I was just, working, and then finally I went, you know what? This is embarrassing. Somebody asked for a demo. I sent it to them, and I listened to it before I sent it, and the stuff on it was so old. And one of the things that happens, if you've got a demo and you're talking about VHS tapes or something that really, it wasn't that bad, but it's that kind of thing that you go, oh yeah, this is not up to date.
Totally.
And the truth of the matter is, it's much more important for you to update your demos when you're still knocking on the door, or maybe the door is open, but it hasn't opened that wide. And the more you work, I'm not going to say the less you need your demos, but the less you need your demos.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. Yeah, it's a little catch-22 there. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. If the things you're talking about on your demo sound ridiculously dated, and frankly, you should be training regularly
Yeah.
and getting better year to year. So you should be listening back and going, I can slay that now. So when you get to that point, I'd say probably within 2 years, it's probably time to update again.
What's you know what? If for no other reason than the material on it should be, current.
Yeah.
Or not too old.
Right.
Boy, I just had a really good question for you, and it went out of my mind. Oh, well, no, now it's back. So what's the last training you did?
Right now, I'm working with one of my favorite coaches. His name is Stephen Memel. And he's not a voiceover coach per se, but he's more a performance coach. I mean, he's coached like Maroon 5 and I think Avril Lavigne and Adele and things like that. Like, he is amazing at taking the words on a page, and because he tends to work a lot with songwriters, and he's able to help somebody go from just going through the motions and singing their song to really like absorbing every single word and bringing it to life. He's amazing at copy.
So what do you think is the most important thing that he's taught you?
Oh man, he has just taught me that most of the words are important. That if the words are on the page, there's something significant about it, and it's usually not something just to be breezed through or skimmed through. And if you can really take the time to digest what's on the page and maybe comb through it 10 times, maybe comb through it, however many times, you really start to open up these nuances that can really bring things to life. He's been unbelievable.
That's interesting because one of the things when I teach is I tell people, look, I don't care that much about the words. I care about what's behind the words.
Right.
And I have a feeling that what you're really saying is understanding exactly what you are saying. That you're just not, I'm saying this word, I'm saying this word, I'm saying this. But what's there?
Right.
What's the emotion
really
behind?
Absorbing it.
Yeah, really
absolutely.
absorbing it that way. Because one of the biggest problems we have in voiceover is readiness.
Right.
And so if you're paying attention to each and every word, but the whole message, and what all those words together mean, absolutely. And I think too many people, especially those of us who came out of radio.
Right, rip and read.
I can make this sound good. Yeah. And tonight on an all new, and it's only $5.99, and here's the number, and stop by, take the 508 to the 405 to the.
That's it.
I remember, and it hurts. So I got 70 seconds worth of copy to do in 30 seconds.
It's so true. Yeah, in radio, you get so stuck on time, right? It's like, gotta get this done in 30 or 15, and it's so the opposite.
Oh, boy. Boy. Well, listen, tell me something that nobody knows about you.
Oh, God. Way to spring it on me, Dave.
That you're willing to share.
Oh, God, sure. I mean, I'm an open book. I talk too much. That's my problem. Something that nobody knows about me. This is a fact I don't share that often. Even though I'm Mara DeRusso, DeRusso is my maiden name. Mm-hmm. I was technically born with no middle name. And my birth certificate literally says...
Well, literally, most people were born with no name, and then they were given one. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, everybody I talked to said they have an official legal middle name, and I was born with none. And my birth certificate literally says NMN, like no middle name. Yeah.
So once you got that middle name from your husband, you say, I'm keeping this. Well, actually, you kept your last name and his.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I made my original last name.
Doesn't that seem a little greedy?
Just to complicate things.
Doesn't that seem a little greedy? How many names do you have to have?
What's your middle name, by the way?
Oh, boy. I generally don't use it. Henderson.
Henderson?
David Henderson Fennoy, Jr.
I kind of like that, actually.
Son of Dr. David Henderson Fennoy, Jr.
What sort of doctor?
He was a veterinarian.
Oh.
Yeah, my dad, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time. He was the first black veterinarian to to have a private practice in Cleveland, Ohio,
Oh my God.
and it was so exciting for me as a kid to be there cleaning the cages of the dogs of the poop and the pee and the.
Do you have an aversion to animals now, or do you appreciate
Oh
them more?
no, I'm a dog guy. I love all animals. I'm a dog guy. I've got 2 dogs. Sometimes I've had as many as 3.
Aw.
Um, I love bigger dogs. I've got a pit bull and a half pit,
Oh,
and
wow.
they're the sweetest dogs in the world. If you see a
That's what
bad
I hear.
you see a bad pit, you got a bad owner.
That's what I've heard.
Wait
I
a
have
minute,
heard that
wait
a
a
lot.
minute. Hold on one second here. I gotta bring this person.
Oh
Mary
yeah.
Lynn Wisner.
Mary Lynn. Love Mary Lynn so much.
Oh, absolutely. And once again, if you're somebody who is looking uh, to have a voiceover career and you want to learn how to do commercials, you are cheating yourself if you don't
Yes.
spend some time with Mary Lynn Wisner. Uh,
She is one of the best.
she's one of
The
the best that
best.
ever did it and got away with it.
Yes, indeed.
All right, and let's see. Christopher Thomas, hi Dave. Are you taking questions? How do you start a voiceover career at a late age? You know what? Since I've got you here, not that you are at a late age,
Thank you. Thank you for that.
but what would be your advice for somebody who's grown,
Yeah.
who maybe has? I started going gray in my 20s, so don't let the gray hair fool you. But somebody 40s, 50s, 60s years old, interested, what would you suggest for them?
I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of this misconception that as you get older, that you can't be in this business. Frankly, I mean, I'm just now coming into my own. You know what I mean? I've been doing this full time for 11 years now, or 11 and a half years. It took that long to get comfortable with who I am, my voice, to get this inner confidence that really books. And you don't really, I don't feel like most people really get to that place until they get a little bit older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it can be a really big advantage. You can either be stuck in your ways, or you can be somebody who's like, no, I know who I am. I'm confident. This is me. This is my voice. And frankly, that puts you way ahead of the game right there. The only challenge I would say that you're going to have to come up against, especially right now during this pandemic period, is the tech side. I mean, it's getting more and more technical, even for me. And I'm a techie nut. I mean, I've been engineering my own stuff back since my radio days. But even now, I mean, even video games now are on, there's a lot of on camera auditioning and things like that. And I'm like, I didn't get into the business to be on camera, but that's kind of the way the winds are blowing. So aside from the technical part of it, I mean, if you're willing to dig in and do the work, I really don't see age being a limitation. As long as you're confident, you have fun, and you just are really immersed in this business, I think you have just as much a shot as anybody else.
Yeah, one thing that you said, being comfortable with yourself, accepting yourself for who you are. I've worked with a lot of older actors or older people trying to get into voiceover, and one of the biggest things I see is that the little in their eyes you can see a little bit of fear,
Yes.
and that question of themselves, can I do this? And it's often with people who have wonderful instruments, and when they're
Right.
talking to you, it's like, yeah, keep talking. I want to hear you say things. And
Yeah.
then you give them somebody else's words, which is what our job is, to make somebody else's words our own. And they're falling down.
Yeah.
Some I've been able to help get there, and they're having wonderful careers now. But
Yeah.
that confidence,
It's everything.
when I was getting to a voiceover, everybody told me when I was knocking on the doors that, well, you're coming out of radio, you sound too much like a DJ, you're going to have to get rid of that. Don't tell anybody you came out of radio.
Yeah. Same here.
But I really believe that radio gave me a lot of gifts.
Likewise.
The reading the commercials that you had no connection with,
Yeah.
the time, the dates, the directions, the phone numbers, the percentages off.
Yeah.
This doing a read 40 seconds worth of copy that you had to fit in a 30,
Yeah.
got your technical skills up.
Absolutely.
Now, once you got out, you had to let go of the some of that. You had to let go of just trying to. Oh, I'm saying the words in such a way that you're going to like how I say them.
Right. Gilding the lily, right?
Gilding the lily,
Super.
making the words
Yeah.
precious, and learn to connect
Yeah.
with what you're saying.
Right.
But there's a lot of great technique that you learn in radio. So I'm never sorry that I was a disc jockey.
Amen. I'm right there with you. Radio taught me so much. Just like you said, it's like I learned how to time copy. Like if somebody now, when I'm in a commercial session, is like, hey, can you shave a second and a half off of that? Absolutely. You know, and it sounds crazy to somebody who's not used to getting that sort of musician sort of timing, but that's drilled in your head in radio.
Yeah.
And just talking like you're talking to a best friend when you're reading copy. That's
Yeah.
you have to learn.
And
all
put on
that.
that smile. Hey, how you doing?
Even if you're having a bad day. Yeah.
It's interesting. Speaking of clock in the head, I always found I did a lot of promos, a lot of TV promos, and that thing where you need to shave 0.3 of a second, and somehow you do it. You don't know how you know what
Right.
0.3 of a second is, but
Yep.
you do. You do.
You can feel it.
Let's see. What do we got here? Assad Shams. Is it necessary that a person has to have a theater or Broadway background to be a voice actor?
No.
Oh, I see a head shaking. No. You know, now, one of the interesting things is that most of the commercials we're hearing on television for major cars and products, so many of them now are celebrity voices. Actor voices. I saw you take that sip. Celebrity voices,
My
actor.
smoothie.
Why do you think that is? I know why I think it is, but since I got you here, I'm going to have you tell me.
Somebody told me a theory once that the reason celebrities tend to get hired is because the brands are kind of leaning on that. Almost the same reason that celebrities are used to be headliners in movies is that you hear the voice and there's a familiarity, so say it's an actor from Friends, right? You grew up watching Friends. Well, you just have this natural affinity toward that actor or toward that person, whether you even consciously recognize the voice or not. Because frankly, a lot of the celebrity reads aren't that great, to be honest. But I think people rely heavily on the fact that, they're going to know that this is, I won't name any celebrity names and offend them, but, this is, whoever. And I think that they think it kind of helps to boost the brand, but I really wish it wasn't quite that way because, us regular day-to-day working voice actors, I think, have so much more of that personability behind the mic and those delicate nuances down a lot more because this is where we live. We don't rely so much on, they say like 80% or 85% of communication is nonverbal. So we rely on that 15% pocket, and we really mastered that. And I don't think that a lot of on-camera people necessarily, if that's been strictly their world, celebrity-wise, know how to do that.
I think it's a couple other things, too. One, we are in love with celebrities.
Yeah.
So much so we have reality shows, invent new celebrities. So I think a lot of products, hey, I want that celebrity. But especially the good actors who do this, that the spots work, it's because they know who they are.
Yeah.
They can embody that character that brings that message.
Right.
But you don't have to be a celebrity to do that.
Not at all. Not at all.
Let's see. We got Venus again. When I started, I was told the voice doesn't age, so you can do VO a long time. Do you guys agree?
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's Kathleen Turner. She was like my voice idol back in the day. Today, not so much.
Well,
No, the voice doesn't age. It's always, I was sounding like this when I was 5 years old, sweetheart.
Exactly.
It's
It
lovely.
came out
Yeah.
the womb like this, and it was nothing.
the voice does age. The voice definitely does age. There's things physically with my voice I can't do. My range is not as high as it once was.
Right.
There's a different kind of control that I have now. And actually, when my voice began to get a little raggedy, I actually like it better than when it was so round and beautiful, and it has more texture. Which, oddly enough, there used to be guys that would smoke to get a textured voice. So
absolutely.
So
yeah, as my voice gets older, I have the same thing. I'm getting that gravel, and now I can do these amazing power reads and trailer type reads that I couldn't do 10 years ago.
So Venus, they lied to you. Now, the one thing with voiceover, though, in terms of age, you can play a wider range than an on-camera actor.
Sure,
because your voice ages more slowly than your face or your belly or your sagging muscles or your gray hair. So you can play a wider range, but the days of me playing somebody 20 years old is it's been gone. It's been gone a while.
But I like everybody to take care of your voice. You know what I mean? The more you can hydrate, have good practices, just look up vocal health and study vocal health because I when I first got into this business, I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I didn't do everything that they say to do for vocal health. I did the opposite. I never drink enough water. I, have really hard glottal stops when I laugh and cough and after a while I developed a vocal nodule and my range went significantly down and those younger characters I suddenly couldn't do and it was scary because this is your moneymaker. So take care of it and it will last you a long time, but there's no guaranteeing it's going to stay in the same range, especially as women. We get deeper.
Yeah. I've got a question here from something we were talking about. Daniel M. Calk. What's a good way to build your confidence and learn not to trip over words? I say a whole lot as well. My question to Danielle would be, are you saying when you're reading or just when you're talking?
Mm. That was a
Oh, that was a moment. So, a good way to build your confidence.
I think, first off, the good way to build your confidence is just to, back to the old Greek saying, know thyself. The more you know who you are, the more confident you're going to be. The more you don't really, the less time you've taken with yourself to know and love yourself, the easier it is for this industry and anybody else to push you around.
Unless, of course, you've learned that yourself is that person that is unsure about himself.
Well, yeah, which would suck. But yeah, that's the main thing I would say to find confidence. And then, frankly, recording it and reading a lot every day. You should be reading every single day. And the more you do it, practice makes perfect. So the more you are confident as a human being and confident as a reader, and, we have to be sight reading, all the time. You just get something slapped in front of you. You got to bring it to life quickly.
Yeah.
So the more you get in the habit of reading words, absorbing words, and really making them your own on a regular basis, the less it's going to feel like Greek to the point where you're naturally going to respond with these awkward ums and ahs and things in between. And it's fine to add those when you're doing a character or a commercial or something, and you want to make it sound a little more natural, but you have to, really sprinkle that delicately.
Yeah, I was going to say the ums and ahs are natural. Generally when we're talking, and I know I do it all the time when I'm talking, we don't always know exactly what it is we're going to say, and we hit a certain age, and sometimes the words are there someplace in your brain file, and you misfiled them, and you have to find them, and there's that word. So ums are natural, and oftentimes what makes a read better, more real, not necessarily with a commercial, say, but in character work, playing an animated character, are those ums, making the words, I call stumbling over them like I just did, because you're trying to find your words. You don't have a script. And you have to remember your character doesn't have a script.
That's right. The real people you're bringing to life.
There you go. Let's see. John Moody. It seems the VO folks I know who started in radio benefited greatly from it, especially if you were doing local ads. Yeah, that cheapo local ad stuff that everybody hates that you should never put on your demo
so much fun.
is so much fun, and it's great training.
Yes.
All right. Tremaine, what's up, Trey? Settle the debate for me. You work to get the gear, not to get the gear to get the work. True or false? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I'll let you expound.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously the goal is to work to the point where you can afford really good professional gear. But frankly, nowadays, for $300, even sometimes less than that, you can get a microphone that sounds freaking amazing. The hardest thing in this business is getting your sound treatment right. You know what I mean? If you get your room right and your bass trapping right and your reflections taken care of, honestly, you can be on a lot cheaper equipment than you think. Do your homework, but you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, I started off in a closet, and I'm not talking a walk-in closet. I mean, I had coats and jeans in front and behind me for my soundproofing, and I would every session I would go in and slide my closet door closed quietly and pray that nobody ever asked for pictures of my studio. Because it doesn't matter. Really, the client doesn't care. As long as it sounds right, it doesn't matter if you're doing it in the bathroom, but I wouldn't recommend doing it from the bathroom.
Yeah, well, it sounds great when you're singing, but that whole echo thing is...
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring this up a little bit, what your studio looks like. And the only reason is, since we're now working via Zoom and Skype to clients in different places, sometimes I'll have a student and their room it'll sound great, but not look so great. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to suggest that because the world is moving to a place where we're going to be working from home a lot more now, especially since we can in this business, either by your choice or the client's choice. I've been doing video games, AAA games now, from my home. That never happened before. I could do international stuff and smaller games, but never, ever AAA games. Yeah. And I have a feeling that from time to time, you're going to have a client that's going to judge you not only by your equipment and your sound, but what does your studio look like? So we all might want to think about making sure that our work environment, if it's going to be seen, and often it is, that it looks good, that it looks right.
At least make it neat. You don't want a messy space. That's a reflection on you.
Well, I don't know. A clean desk is a sign of a deranged mind. Let's see. Thank you for answering my question. By the way, Dave Sensei looks so much like Leroy from Tekken series. Okay. I think that's a compliment.
Not familiar with Leroy.
Oh, let's see. Alex Wood always has something good. It's getting to the point where even celebrities have commercial demos. Right now, Hugh Jackman, The Rock, Ben Affleck have commercial demos you can find on WME's website. Man, I noticed you got really quiet there, and the look on your face was like, really?
I've heard the celebrity demos. They're usually not good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. They usually sound like they were recorded really quickly on an iPhone. The quality is usually horrific, and they get by just having. I think they just put it up on the agent sites just so the agency has something to list them with. But most celebrity demos I've heard have been, quite frankly, god awful.
And I've had directors of video games because a lot of the producers, the game developers, want celebrities on their games. Mm-hmm. And celebrities may or may not actually be interested in doing video games. They may not be ready for how hard it's going to be on their voice. Right. They may not understand the genre or respect it.
Yeah.
And I've heard horror stories of they were booked for a 4-hour session. They came in. After an hour, they said, I'm done, I'm out of here. Or maybe they stayed for the 4 hours, but they phoned it in.
Yeah.
And
had terrible mic technique. Whacking the mic or staying off mic.
Oh, yeah, couldn't stay on mic. That's a biggie. Yeah. It's a little bone that I need to pick sometimes with the developers, that we have all these people who have spent sometimes a couple of decades being voices in video games, who love the work and are very, very, very good at it, and the fans have become, the game players have become big fans. And still, we don't get no respect.
I know.
I tell people all the time, well, you know, if we had residuals for video games, I'd be a very wealthy man.
Talk about, of course you would.
And we're kind of in that position with video games as actors were in the 60s before residuals, where they were just happy to get the work, and you found people that they had so-called successful careers for a while, and then they went away and ended up broke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got them in the union now, but we need to do better.
Amen to that.
Let's see. How much? Oh, here's one. So, how much training do you need? Can I teach myself?
I mean, you might be able to teach yourself enough to kind of get in the door, but I don't ever recommend not having good professional training. In fact, we've got an amazing coach with us right now, Mary Lynn Wisner, commercial. Like, there's so many amazing coaches. In this day and age, you can Skype just about anybody you want to. There's really no excuse except for obviously budgetary limitations.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's usually not the time, it's usually the money that people are worried about. Let me give an answer. Yes, you should get training, if for no other reason that, yes, maybe after a certain amount of time you might discover how to do it, what your signature voice is, all those things. But why have to go through all the trial and error and trial and error and trial and error and trial and error when you can work with some people who can give you exactly what you're supposed to be doing now, so that you understand why that read didn't work now as opposed to waiting 3 or 4 years to figure it out. So
absolutely. And there's so many elements to this job. I mean, people kind of take for granted, you know, when they hear, oh, people have been saying my whole life that I have a great voice. It's like, well, great. Now can you act? Now do you know how to have mic technique? Do you know how to handle shortening, you know, and extending time in a commercial if you need to? Do you know how your voice, you know, your volume should be for each genre of commercial? Do you know, you know, I mean, I could go on and on and on the things that have to go through our head. If the director gives you, you know, says, give me an ABC, do you know how to make 3 distinct choices? And then we ask for the next ABC, can you make 3 more distinct choices? And remember all those other choices in your head so you don't keep duplicating yourself.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that we have to do. That's way beyond just acting or, you know, just having a nice voice. So I don't recommend that you take it all on by yourself because, you know,
we are artists, but we are also technicians.
Absolutely. All the way.
Let's see. Nadia Ahern, even if you don't have a superhero body, but you can be a superhero behind the mic.
That's right.
Well, some of us do have a superhero body. Not me, but...
I'm looking. What?
Yeah. Crystal Lee Brown again. Any special breathing techniques before, during recording?
I don't do. I'm a terrible breather. I'm a former yoga teacher.
So wait, now what makes you a terrible breather?
Well, I mean, number one, like I was very, very introverted and shy growing up. I still am introverted and shy, but I fake it well. But you know, I just made myself very small. I kept my, you know, and most women do this. You know, we were taught to tuck in our tummies and hold everything in, right? And so you just get into these habits of just taking just in enough air to get by. But it's really not good. I was actually in a workshop, I think, with Jennifer Hale, my first workshop with her. She was like my idol. And I was about to do the read, and she was just like, oh my God, you don't breathe at all. It's true, I don't. So I'm working on that. But so I would say just get in the habit of doing good diaphragmatic breathing on a regular basis. There's a thing called box breathing that's great to practice just to get you familiar with your diaphragm and your chest.
Give me an example of a little bit of box breathing.
Box breathing, it's just sort of a practice. They use it a lot in the military to get through long endurance things. And at all times, you should be trying to breathe through your nose when you can. But basically, it's an even breath. It's an even inhale. And you basically, as if you're filling up a balloon, when you take in that breath, you want to pretend like your belly is the bottom of the balloon. And then you're filling that up and feeling the air expand up into the chest cavity and then even up into the almost the clavicle area, and then you reverse it when you hold it for the same amount of time that you inhaled. Hold it, and then you exhale, and then have it reverse in the opposite order. You feel the air come from your clavicle, the chest, back down. And you just get in the habit of just these full deep breaths, because we're supposed to breathe so much slower through, per minute than we do.
One of the things I teach is take a breath when you need to take a breath. Especially doing.
When I first started, I was gulping. Though it was so distracting.
Oh,
it was bad.
I did a job for Google. I'm one of the Google voices, and it was very exacting. Your mic had to be just so, and you're reading all this information, and I found I was going, and they said, "Oh, we can't have that breath there," and I realized. In certain kinds of work, I've been taking this breath beforehand, and I realize in real life, you never do that.
No.
You are taking breaths. You don't think about it. You just say what you're going to say, and then the breath happens when you need to take a breath.
Mm-hmm.
So I work very hard at bringing more of that to my work, and one of the things I've discovered is that if you allow yourself to just breathe when you need to breathe in the dialogue,
right,
you will find that natural place that you may not think it's a natural place in the writing, but it is.
Absolutely. And again, that's part of being confident, because the more you're confident behind the mic, the less you're going to be apt to be approaching it like this and not breathing and then taking those big swallows, in the wrong places or just too audibly.
Yeah. We're going to take just a couple more questions because, I thought you'd be hanging around 20 minutes and then be out of here, but this is so much fun.
Oh, you kidding? I could do this all night.
Do you still practice? Not warming up, but actually practicing talking, like accents, character creations to be ready for the next gig, stuff like that?
It depends. I mean, especially if it's a booking, that I got for some crazy accented character, absolutely, I practice as much as possible. Like I once did an ADR thing for Last Week Tonight. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and they needed like a Russian voice caster accent, and I didn't know how to do Russian at the time, so I learned it.
So you learned how to do the Russian. It's good. I'd like to hear that.
That's right. I learned how to do the accent. So, but in general, I mean, I have really good agents and a lot of auditions coming in so frequently. Kind of my day-to-day auditioning is a big part of my practice, and I'm absolutely reading out loud for at least, at minimum, 3 hours a day anyway. So it's not like for fun I'm sitting around going, I'm going to learn some Yugoslavian.
I'm going to answer a couple of quickies here. Carmen Cruz Hart says, Mara DeRusso Juno, you rock, sis.
Aw, thank you so much, Carmen.
Someone asked me, have I been the voice of any Toys action figures? No. Not that I can remember. Michael Scott, any recommendations for clean legal reads?
Ooh, like disclaimers and stuff? I say practice your tongue twisters.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of articulation exercises because it requires a lot of really fast.
Oh, yeah, and do it slowly and speed up. Speed up.
Absolutely.
Get it in your mouth. Gotta say, Randy Thomas, hello, you fabulous talents. Hey, Randy, how you doing, baby? Let's see, we're getting the last few in. When recording in an apartment, there's obviously going to be small noises in the background you can't hear when recording. So how much can you sound engineers take away what is acceptable?
I mean, ideally, if you're hearing stuff in your cans while you're recording, it's probably going to get through to the engineers. I mean, you can abate some of that depending on the type of microphone you're using.
Or noise gate,
Yeah. But you got to be careful with gating because it's very hard to get right, and you can risk cutting off syllables and THs and Ps and things like that. Anytime you're cutting out frequencies on one thing, you risk cutting out frequencies in your actual voice. So I don't recommend relying on a gate or anything for live performances, but getting a mic that's really tightly focused, like a shotgun, like the Sennheiser 416, which is kind of the standard, is a good way to kind of, reject a lot of noise. Unfortunately, like a mic like the Neumann TLM 103, which is also the standard, picks up everything. I mean, everything. If you blink, it will hear it.
Yeah.
So if you're in a pretty, like an apartment environment, I recommend you probably go with a good pro mic that rejects more outside noise, the better. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. This is a good one to end on. John Moody, thank you for giving back, Dave and Mara. Please look out for the friend request I sent both of you on my MySpace.
Will do.
I didn't realize. I just knew it was going to end with Facebook, but no. MySpace. All right. Hey, listen, this has been a gas.
Absolutely.
I can't remember the last time I saw you. It had to be in some convention or something.
Or some bar.
Something like that. But Mara, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing some of your experience and some of your wisdom from your years of work. Love you. Love your work.
Love
Just
you
keep
too.
on doing your thing, girl.
Thank you so much, darling. Anytime. So
All
glad
right.
to be here.
All right. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Mara DeRusso Juno. Wow. Well, thanks. That does it for this session of Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Thank you, Mara, again. Let's see. Crystal Lee Brown, in some of the comments, you'll see what the name of that microphone was. It was a Townsend Lab Sphere C22. What's the promise name again for apartments? I don't know what that was about. I finally got my studio to the, I can bring that out. I finally got my studio to the point where I have zero room noise. It's getting to that point, not the least satisfying moment. Not the least satisfying moment of your life? Okay, yeah, I think that's what it is. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you once again for joining me for Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Next week, I will have Jordan Reynolds on, who is a voice actor. He produces demos, and he helps people with their studios. So it should be another good one, and I'll see you then. All the best.